Hi and welcome. The theme for Reset today is relationship is like peanuts. Well, I hope that intrigued you to look a little closer, but I'm not talking about the ones you buy in a bag for the carnival peanuts. I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about the Peanuts gang that Charles Schulz came up with and made a comic strip years and years ago. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the different characters of Peanuts. And first of all, let me give you a little bit of history with my experience and my relationship with the Peanuts gang. I absolutely loved the Peanuts. I had all the comic books, I had all the different strips, and as a matter of fact, I bought a volume, at least my parents did for me anyway, of all the comic strips that Charles Schulz had done up until the 1978, I believe, and I had a catalog of them all in different books. I love the Peanuts, and I really identified with the different characters, and I think that Charles Schulz really did a phenomenal job of creating the main characters, especially of all the different personalities, and they all had different traits. So let's take a look at a few. And of course, there are many actual characters, but I'm just going to touch on a few of the main ones today. The first one that I'd like to take a look at is Linus. Linus Van Pelt. He is cautious, consistent, and conscientious. He's always looked at as a young baby because of that security blanket that he puts around, but he's actually the most smartest and intellectual of them all. Next is his sister, Lucy. She may come off as bossy and pushy and things like that, but she does like to take control, which, of course, is sometimes really needed. But she takes care of her brothers and she takes care of the situation. She even offers advice, well, for 5 cents. Next is good old Snoopy. He's not your average dog. He's a book lover, he's a writer, he has an unstoppable imagination as far as thinking that he's a Sopwith Camel pilot after the Red Baron, or he's Joe Cool, the big dog on campus. And he's also a connoisseur of root beer. But he's a very faithful dog to all those that are around him. And who could forget the star of the comic strip, the star of the show, good old Charlie Brown. He's loyal, he's determined, of course, he's a bit wishy-washy, but he is a true friend. He's a dedicated baseball manager. He's very responsible when it comes to taking care of his dog, Snoopy. Charlie Brown, he never gives up, even when he probably should, but he perseveres. He's very kind, he's very patient, and he just can't seem to help himself when it comes to being thoughtful and helping others. The interesting thing about all of these characters and their relationships together was they were all different, but they all had an amazing way of coexisting, of working together. And I think not just ministry, but life is that way too, whether it be our friends or even with our own families. God has created us very unique. God puts us in positions to use those special traits that we have to take care of each other, to help each other out in situations, and even to minister and share the gospel of Jesus. Before I leave you today, I just want to give you this challenge. I want you to think about in your life, whether it be in your church life, or in your family, we are all made up of different personalities. And sometimes we tend to go rogue and we tend to split apart and go away from the crowd. But you know, one of the things that I learned from the Peanut strips is, especially, there's a lot of different strips that I could share with you, or actually movie clips, but unfortunately because of copyright I can't do that. But one of the things that really struck me was the Christmas, where you had Charlie Brown had this opinion that Christmas was going to be made by getting the most magnificent tree, because the Peanuts gang sent him out for that task to do so, and when it failed and he brought this pitiful little tree, that they all started making fun of him and mocking him, and as they do in so many of these shows. But Linus, who he comes across as the baby of the group, you know, carrying around that little blanket and always being made fun of for that, he goes out and just knocks that out of the park and shares the story of Luke. And he brings all of those personalities together to discover the magnificence of the Christmas story. And they, as so many of these other stories, they come together and they come of one accord, even though they are completely different people. And I think today in the church, today in ministry, today in our friendships, and today in our families, we have to start rediscovering and refocusing on the purpose of coming together and realizing, accepting, and not just accepting that we are people of different personalities, but how they can work together to bring joy, to bring happiness, and to live a life that is pleasing to each other and pleasing to God. Thanks for joining Reset, and embrace our differences, embrace our diverse personalities, and learn how we can bring them together